Cyberpunk 2077 launch was a disaster, just like The Last of Us Part 2. The difference is that even with all the bugs, I still enjoy Cyberpunk. This doesn't make anything right. The game was still launched unfinished and it's even unplayable on the old generation consoles. You may say that the consoles are very old and it was expected, but that's not an excuse to still make money and sell it on those consoles. It's the same excuse with cheap and bad products. What did you expect? It was a cheap product. Well, I expect it to do the thing it was created to do, not fail before I even try to use it, or fail at first use. So CD Projekt Red knew that the game wasn't ready, but they still wanted the money. They didn't accept Anita Sarkeesian to work for them, they didn't delete the art in their games just because some losers on Twitter cried about it. They did a great job and that's why people trusted them, including me. I never buy games at launch, I usually wait 6 months or even 1 year, but I expected more from CD Projekt Red, and that was a mistake. Never pre-order or buy games at launch, wait to see some gameplay and some reviews, wait for a big discount. If the gameplay lacks a lot of future, for example in Cyberpunk, I'm stuck with whatever character creation I picked. I can even change the color of my nails or a new hairstyle. For real now, why did you even make the character customization if it's so limited and useless? In game, you get items that look like shit and don't work on your character, or with your hairstyle, but it's a great armor or hat because of the stats, so you use it to be stronger, or don't and get a useless one just because you look cool. I was fine if I had to pick from the default male V or female V. I was also fine with just one gender. Sure, character customization can be fun, but if it was hard to implement a good one, then don't do it. Sure, it's awesome to have a lot of side quests, weapon, abilities, but if none are good, what's the point? It makes everything less fun. How about making 10 side quests instead of 20 or more? But make them interesting, longer, more polished. How about instead of finding 100 weapons, just make 10 that are fun to use? I don't want every 10 minutes to waste my time and disable my weapons or sell them because I can't carry them. How about instead of 240 perks, you make 30 that are good and game changing? Anyway, I have fun with Cyberpunk and I don't have any game breaking bugs. I played the game over 42 hours and I never had a crash. I only had the frame drops 2 times in a cinematic, and the most annoying bugs that I had was a message remaining stuck on the screen, my hands became invisible, or the biggest bug that I had 2 times was that I remained stuck in the hacking vision or whatever it's called, but that was when I abused it and used it every second. Cyberpunk 2077 suffers from what every open world game suffers. They try to make the world full of stuff to do, but you end up making it garbage because the world is way too big to make it full of good and interesting stuff, so you have to add a lot of garbage. But I just finished Mafia 3, that I enjoyed it because of the story. They fixed the issue with the lighting, but the game still had some bugs that made me restart the PlayStation 4 Pro because closing and opening the game didn't fix them, plus had 2 crashes. It's not okay, but the good music, the good story, the fun gameplay made everything awesome and enjoyable. The missions are repetitive, most of the cars weren't that useful or fun to use, a lot of the stuff on the map was useless and annoying, but I enjoyed the gameplay so much that I didn't care how repetitive everything was, I just wanted to shoot bad guys with my shotgun. But how about the game of the year? Okay, let me just say that I had no idea if a game of the year existed or why. I only know about it because some YouTubers I watch talked about it. But let's be real, at the end of the day, all that matters is how much money your game made. If you made the profit you wanted or not. So I don't care, and I never cared for awards. Why do I care if a game won the best game if I don't like it? And we finally reached The Last of Us Part 2, a polished game that worked just fine and looked awesome, but it's a very disliked game. Why do I dislike this game? It all started when they decided to offer a job to Anita Sarkeesian. Anita has no idea what gaming is, and she doesn't enjoy games. How do I know this? She never talked, not even one time, about real issues that gamers have. Microtransactions, unfinished games, false advertisement, lack of creativity. So many years has passed. What the fuck did Anita do to make anything better? She got a lot of money for being useless. Sure, she did a great job with that. Did she create great female characters? No. But instead, she created hate and didn't really improve anything. And yes, she created the hate. She started pointing fingers, blaming everybody, saying gamers and developers are the problem. Yeah, sure. Gamers are normal people who just love to play games. We are not all the same, and we don't like the same kind of games. Some like shooters, some like RPGs, some like strategy games. So yeah, there's a big difference. Liking a game doesn't make you toxic, or making a game doesn't make you toxic. Most of the gamers just want to play games. They are introverted, they don't really like to go out and talk, they just like to play games. And the developers, this is why they create more male stuff, because they are males. They don't really know how females are, because a lot of them are not experts with females, because you know, they stay all the time inside playing games, making games, stuff like that. We never had a problem with girls that play games with female protagonists and stuff like that. Actually, we love to see more of that. Anyway, let's get back to our story. The movie, music and gaming industry lacks creativity. People start to care more about old stuff or things that come from small companies. People prefer to watch a 2-hour clip from a content creator but get bored during a high production movie or TV series. The movie industry didn't want to understand why, so they just change a white actor with a black actor, they put some LGBTQ propaganda, tell us every time how strong a woman is in their movies, and that's their fix. You don't like it? You suck as a human. It doesn't matter if you dislike the fact that everything is clearly forced and doesn't make the movie interesting or creative. They still think the only problem is that you are a bad person who doesn't like other races, sexes or sexual orientation. Then here comes The Last of Us Part 2. I even forgot that this game existed. The only conversation I hear about The Last of Us Part 2 is how fans are disappointed about the story, including me and other people who defend it and found it okay. Some people were impressed by the story. I don't understand why, because I know a lot more complex and heartbreaking stories in my personal life, and there's a lot more out there. If a game like this shocked you so hard, then you have no idea how hard life really is. You should be happy about that. Great job, but still, The Last of Us Part 2 story is very washed up, and just because Neil Druckmann says it's a wonderful story, a wonderful game, it doesn't really matter. Let's be real, if a creator makes a great game, he will never say that. He will let other people say it, because if you know something is good, other people will say it for you. The best creators will also be their best critics. You will always think you can do better. I never saw anybody talk about how great their creation is as Neil Druckmann talks about his games. And when anybody says anything bad about it, he always tries to redirect that conversation from his bad writing to how much you hate diversity or strong females. I cared about surviving, killing zombies, fighting a cure, creating new bonds. Joel saved Ellie, but he never bonded with her enough to know how she will react. If she wanted to die to make the cure, people say that Joel decided for her, but Ellie never said if she was okay with dying. This is what makes The Last of Us Part 2 interesting. It all ended with unresolved problems that made everything awkward and interesting. Joel didn't want to find out what Ellie would think if he said what happened. Ellie knew that something was wrong, but she had only Joel's version at that time. It was hard to fail with The Last of Us Part 2. Improve the gameplay a little, make new animations, make better graphics. And they did that. But Neil Druckmann decided that it's a good idea to ask Anita for help. Anita only tried to invent problems and be a victim, so she gets paid for resolving those non-issues. Even if it wasn't Anita who decided how the story in The Last of Us Part 2 should be, and I'm pretty sure she wasn't, she's not a very creative person, just very manipulative. It was a mistake to pay somebody like her to represent your gaming company. The same person that was anti-gaming works for a gaming company. Anyway, Anita was never the problem. The problem is with the stupid people who take her seriously and pay too much attention to her. When I saw a YouTuber make a video about her, I was like, who cares what she says? It's not like a company is that stupid to take her seriously. But boy, I was wrong. Companies are run by so many stupid people. They had luck making it big because of a product, and now they think they are experts, but as we already see, most of them are idiots. I'm looking at you, Nintendo, overprotecting your shitty IPs like you are the music industry, not learning anything from the last time you did that with the creators program on YouTube. But for real now, some people care way too much about The Last of Us Part 2. Why I dislike the game? I didn't like Joel in the first game. I started to care for him at the end and expected part 2 to make me more interested in the Joel I saw at the start of the game where he interacted with Sarah. They didn't do that. They show Ellie that cares more about drugs and sex, and I start to think it was a better idea if she was dead and we had a cure. They show Joel who still is the same close person, he didn't evolve. Even if later we see him interact more with Ellie, he still is not that different from the one we knew at the end of the game. We meet Abby. I know that Joel killed a lot of people, but he never tortured them for his pleasure. Abby instead goes out of her way to keep Joel alive just so she can torture him more. I understand killing him, but making him suffer so much. She didn't even tell him who she is, why she wants to torture him. She doesn't want to find out if he's sorry or if he wants to say something about everything he did. Whatever. He dies. Ellie tries to get revenge. I understand why. She fails. She gives up. But now she has a new family, but she leaves everything. Not even once during the story she didn't try to find out if she can still make the cure. She didn't make sure if her family is safe and will remain safe. She just wanted revenge. During all of this, we also get flashbacks with Joel and we get to play with Abby. If the game started with Abby, I think I will care more about her, but now I already know she is fucked up. She likes to watch people get tortured. I understand why she wanted revenge, but didn't understand why she tortured Joel so much without talking with him. So Joel, who I started to care about, is dead, Abby is a crazy person, and Ellie has no idea what she's doing with her life, like most of us are. who the fuck should I love or care about? The ending is even worse. Nothing changes. Ellie is still a loser with nothing left. Abby is the same crazy person, but now she's not that strong. No revenge this time, no torture, no discussion between Abby and Ellie again. The game ends with Ellie having no reason to live. Compare this to the first game. When the first game ended, I wanted to find out, will it be a cure? Will Ellie have to die? Will she understand Joel? Will Joel open up more to Ellie? Will the virus evolve and make things worse? When part 2 ended, I didn't care for anything. I have no questions. Ellie turned her back on her friends and had left. She even quit her only objective and now has nothing. She is not funny anymore, she is not kind, she's just another garbage human, just like the other NPCs in the game, with no real reason to live. Abby had her revenge, and the rest of the game was about how she can also not be a crazy person who kills and tortures people. She has nothing, no reason to care about her story. The virus, who cares about it? People are starting to be more deadly than the virus. So why should I like The Last of Us Part 2? For the graphics? I go outside or play another game that I already have and looks great and has a great story, like Red Dead Redemption 2. For the gameplay, it's nothing special. The story was the strongest selling point for The Last of Us Part 2, but they made that the most boring part. The main story about the virus didn't matter. The characters died and the ones left are not important. I like Ellie because she was interesting, she smiled, she made jokes in a world full of bad people and monsters. Now she is like the rest of the people. Naughty Dog cared more to make strong female and a story about revenge and loss that they actually forgot to write the rest of the story. And the women that were strong in the game, they were clearly forced. You don't have to say they're strong if they really are strong, and you don't have to do all that stuff just to show how strong they are. I mean, Lara Croft is a strong person, but I don't see her doing all those stuff to try to show everybody how strong she can be. They wasted 90% of the game trying to fix the first part of the game. They wanted to shock people by killing Joel, then they tried to replace him and make you care about new characters. Abby tries so much to act like a human, like a normal human, not a psycho killer. And Ellie tries to fix problems and complain about them, even if she never asks herself if there is a problem to be fixed and how can the problem be fixed. It's like having some electrical problems, and instead of finding a solution and cutting out the current, you throw water on it. So, a fully polished game at launch that works without issues is the only Sony exclusive that I don't own and probably never will. Maybe I will try it if I get it for $10 so I can sell it again after I finish it, or exchange it with another game. And on the other part, we have a game that is full of bugs and needs one more year in production, but I still have fun with it even now. Usually I wait a little longer and pay $25 for a game. That way I pay less and get all the important updates, but like a lot of people, I got fed up with the gaming industry telling me what I should play and why should I love a game, just like the movie industry does. Cyberpunk 2077 said fuck off to Anita Sarkeesian, said fuck off to Twitter. They understood what the people who buy their games want. A fun game, a game that may not have the best story ever, but at least they try to write a creative story. The Last of Us Part 2 said they don't want to be fun, and they did exactly that. They didn't care about the story, they cared more about finding reason to make a woman strong, checking the list for including different races, different sexual orientations, I'm fine with that, but they forgot how to make an interesting story and a game that people want to play. Sure, some people had fun with the game, but that doesn't say much. People buy FIFA every year. They even pay for their team that require no skill and should never cost anything. Never mind that. I play with rocks and sticks when I was a kid and I still had fun. My point is that you can have fun with a shitty game, but that doesn't make it a good game. The Last of Us Part 2 is a finished game. That's it. It will never improve in any way. That's all he can do. Cyberpunk 2077 main complaints is that it's not finished, but if they do a good job and work at their game, the game will only become more loved and more fun. This is what I wanted to talk about. I know it was a long video, but it was a lot of stuff that I needed to say to make myself better understood. I never hated a game because he had a person with a different sexual orientation in it, if it was a strong woman, if it was a different race. What the movie and now the gaming industry doesn't understand is that we want more creativity, and just changing the main character will never make your movie or game better. I'm okay with diversity, but just adding a different race or sex is not diversity. It's more about checking some boxes instead of focusing on the story, giving the characters their own personality, not just changing the contrast of sex of the character. So I'm having fun with Cyberpunk 2077. I don't care who won the game of the year. Nobody should care. Do you love a game? Buy it and play it. That's all that matters. The company needs money to make more games and pay their employees. And you get more games from the company you love. At the end of the day, if you love The Last of Us Part 2 or Cyberpunk 2077, it doesn't matter. Just don't love a game or hate a game because somebody told you or because you are fooled by the marketing. Just inform yourself, because you can use that money to buy a game that you actually like instead of being scammed. In conclusion, Cyberpunk 2077 with bugs will only get better while the game of the year will still suck. The main reason is that CD Projekt Red wants to make games, and Naughty Dog cares more about what Twitter wants. Stop getting your information from Twitter, because people who buy games are busy playing games or watch content creators making videos about games. They don't stay on Twitter or Facebook.